Let's talk about California. I remain confused by your governors being so far out there on redistricting because it'll take an enormous effort to make the changes necessary to do redistricting. And that's like step one. If he somehow gets that done towards a process which might not work, might not produce additional Democratic seats. Here is Governor Newsom talking yet again, number four, about Governor Abbott of Texas and about gerrymandering. Number four.
Hey, President Trump, it's time to stand down. It's time to make another phone call to Greg Abbott. This time, instead of calling him and telling him you're quote unquote entitled to 5 congressional seats, it's time to tell him to stand down. It's time to recognize that democracy is at risk. It's time to, dare I say, do the right thing. Actually see how that feels for you, doing the right thing. If you don't, California will neutralize anything you do in the state of Texas. California will continue to punch above its weight. We believe in democracy. We believe in the enduring values of our founding fathers. 249 years. We're not going to sit back passively. We're not going to sit back and watch you light democracy on fire. We will fight fire with fire.
Texans love their guacamole. California actually has better avocados, but fierce competition, not just in terms of guacamole, but also this redistricting thing. Governor Abbott has a different point of view. Here's Governor Abbott on Fox today on the same matter. 3D.
This on next. Donald Trump, if you will not stand down, California will be forced to lead an effort to redraw our maps to offset the rigging of maps in red states. If the other states call off their redistricting efforts, we will do the same, and American democracy will be the better for it. But as you pointed out yesterday, and you pointed out there with the state of New York, the process in Texas is much different than it is in California. You can't just willy-nilly rewrite things in the Golden State.
So for one, the process is different because we have the authority to pass laws to do this, whereas in both California and New York, it requires a constitutional amendment. But for another, listen, both New York and California are so gerrymandered, they don't have any more seats that can be picked up. But I'll tell you this, if California thinks they're going to move their needle to the extreme and eliminate 5 Republican members of the United States Congress there, Texas is not going to do 5. We'll add 10 more Republican seats using the same procedure they're using in California. We have more Democrat seats that can turn into Republican seats than they have Republican seats in California that they can turn into Democrat seats.
Okay.
George, can you explain what Governor Newsom is up to on this?
Well, yeah, I mean, Texas is going to cheat. Well, then California is going to cheat too. I mean, that's, that Texas is going to pick up 5 Republican seats. California is going to pick up 5 Democratic seats. That's what it's up to.
Do you think they can, though? Do you think if Governor Newsom really pursues this aggressively, he can actually get 5 additional Democratic seats?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Democratic registration in this state is 2-1 over Republicans. Trump is not the most popular guy in California for sure. And if Newsom plays it smart and spends his money correctly, this will be about Trump cementing control over the single pants in the House for the final 2 years of his term, and he'll sell Californians on redistricting.
Rob, are you bullish on Governor Newsom's ability to get this done?
No, I'm not. I'm bearish on it. So, Abbott alluded to the constitutional amendment that's necessary. So just brief some history on this. My old boss, Governor Schwarzenegger, pushed through a ballot measure, an amendment to the Constitution that created an independent redistricting committee, a commission that does the redrawing every 10 years of state house and of the congressional maps. You can debate how good these maps are, but they're not gerrymandered. That's inaccurate when Abbott says that. They are done by this commission made up equally of independents, Republicans, and Democrats. So what has to be undone in California isn't just doing this map in order to balance Texas. You have to tear down this really substantial political reform that was approved by the voters of California. Now, Newsom's going to do it temporarily. He says this is just through the decade. Then the commission comes back in the 30s and redraws districts again when California loses 4 to 5 seats, probably, incidentally. But this thing, look, this thing's going to play out with probably my old boss, Schwarzenegger, weighing in vociferously against it. I think there'll be hundreds of millions of dollars possibly spent on each side of this to try to get it to pass. And I agree, George is right about the Democrat majority here, and Trump isn't popular, but I don't think that is the pure frame of how this is going to end up going down. I mean, just wait till they show some of the shapes of what these districts are going to look like, running from the sea to the border of Nevada, winding all through Northern California to get rid of Doug LaMalfa at a plus 23 Trump seat. So I'm skeptical. And one last point on this is Newsom suffers in California with voters every time he starts out on his national political ambitions. This is all about his national political ambitions. I think that's what voters are going to see, and I think it's a tough thing to get past.
Aaron, I usually, when I estimate how much will be spent on a California ballot initiative, I'm usually off by a factor of several hundred or scores of millions. Do you agree with Rob that that much money will be spent if this goes forward, and who will spend on both sides?
I can tell you if what's blowing up my phone these days is any indication, there's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars spent on this. It's quick, and there's not a consultant in the initiative and referendum industry that's not begging right now to be hired for it. And I would just say I want to make another different point than Rob and my dad made about this. I think that there is a red bloom in this blue state. If you look at the elections, the presidential elections from 12, 16, 20, 24, the 2024 election saw almost 75% of the counties in the state become more red than they were in 2016. And in 2020, there was 20% more red. The state is becoming more red. And as that happened, some really big blue counties flipped in the Central Valley, in Riverside, in the San Joaquin Valley. And so it will be very hard to find 5 Republican seats to turn. I would say if I were betting, I'd say we can harden some Democratic seats, gray and harder, and maybe we can flip a couple Republican seats, but it will be very hard to find 5 new seats in this because, as Rob said, Schwarzenegger and the commission did such a good job of establishing them, in a very non-political way early on. So I think it's going to come down to turnout. And I think, in a November 4th election in an off year, you can't count on a lot of turnout. So the money's going to have to be on the street, and that's going to be really expensive.
But who will put up the money on the anti-side? Schwarzenegger?
So there's a Charles Munger Jr., the son of the famous Charlie Munger, funded the measure with Schwarzenegger the first time. Munger has stepped forward, says he will fund an opposition to protect his baby, so to speak. But then I think it's unlimited contribution limits. So you'll see money flow in from national moneyed interests on each side of the aisle. So think of just a classic labor, tech, business showdown on this measure.
Want more great clips like that? I've got an idea. Hit the subscribe button, be part of the Two-Way community, never miss a clip, and you can always watch our full episodes, join them live, go to twoway.tv.